Question from Caroline Russell, please. Assembly Member.
Thank you, Chair. And pausing from the bun fight, this is a question for Heidi. I want to focus on how Transport for London's lack of financial certainty is impacting vital street space and healthy streets work that Londoners depend on. So in July, the Mayor announced he'd funded 415 school streets. We're now 2 months later, and last week, the Mayor's latest report said just 22 had been delivered. Schools are back now. Is there a hold-up?
It's a very extensive rollout that is literally happening as we speak. And so what we have found is that in order to implement some of the school streets, the schools needed to be back to assist in some of that. So 415 school streets have been funded, and the number that have been implemented is going up on a daily basis. So over the first couple of weeks at the beginning of September, there's a huge amount of activity going on across London to make sure that those school streets are in place.
Great. So when do you expect them all to be in place by?
Well, I believe that the first tranche of school streets that have been funded need to be in place September, October time, but I can
perhaps you could write
provide
with
an update.
Details. At the end of August, the Mayor tweeted a clip that said only £6.5 million had been spent so far on Streetspace projects of the 30 million that was allocated. Does that mean that there's 23.5 million still unspent? And if so, is this a borough delivery problem or what's going on?
So there's been there's rapid delivery of street space. It's more rapid than anything I think that has ever happened in TfL or local authority history on the roads. Now, clearly, there is a period of time over which you need to get the schemes into the ground and money spent. But all of that money from the first tranche of funding, part of the condition of giving it to boroughs was that it needed to be spent by the end of September, beginning of October.
Okay, and are you confident that's going to happen?
Yeah, there are some schemes that councils have bid for where when they've looked at the detail of it, they've actually said to us, we're not sure that we can deliver that scheme. And so the money that is saved from those schemes, which when they're assessed for deliverability, and something comes up which proves that actually it's not going to be possible, that money goes back into the pot and it's reallocated for other schemes. We were oversubscribed with bids from local authorities for the Streetspace Fund. I think we had 3 times as many bids as we had funding available. And so if some schemes can't go forward because local authorities say, actually, an unexpected issue has arisen, what we can do is go to the list of projects that hadn't quite made the cut to say to those local authorities, especially where they're quite small-scale interventions, well, can you actually get that implemented in a short space of time? And so that's part of the discussion that's been going on over the last couple of months.
Now, you mentioned the oversubscription, and Will Norman said to me back in Transport Committee in July that you'd had 100 million of bids for just 30 million that you were able to allocate. So have you managed to get any money from government to fill in that sort of 70 million aspirational gap in terms of what the boroughs want to deliver?
Yeah, so there was, it was a 55 million funding pot overall, of which 45 million was made available to the boroughs. Some of that was used for sunk project costs, and so it was the 30 million that was available for actual schemes on streets in the local authorities. We were successful in securing a further 25 million in addition to the 55, which took you up to the 80 figure, 80 million that the Mayor talked about. And those bids were going straight through to government, to DFT, with some input from TfL, for government to decide which schemes they wanted to see progressing in London.
Thank you. It doesn't sound like the gap's completely filled. That's worrying because Londoners are going to need to get about under their own steam as this pandemic continues. I'm out of time. Thank you.